All right, hello everybody. Man Cave Mondays here, and we are taking a little bit closer, more uh, intimate and up close look at the Hyperkin Duke controller. As you can see, I've got my original Xbox Duke controller here for us to take a look at by comparison. I've also got the newer Xbox One controller as well as a 360 controller. We'll maybe pull that out a little bit here too, just to kind of get a few comparisons. But the box and the packaging is really nice. If you like to display things, it's a good display. It's a nice box for displaying, but let's be honest, we're not here for the box, right? It came with this very nice little thank you card or note to all these influential and important people in making this controller become a reality, including of course, Phil Spencer is in there, Xbox community, and interestingly enough, the developers behind Halo and Jet Set Radio Future. Not exactly sure why those particular developers of all the Xbox games that are there, but that's interesting. And then behind that, it came with this neat little Hyperkin Duke quick start guide, which is hilarious if you ask me. Nothing comes with a manual anymore, and this thing, I don't know that it necessarily needs one, but they did it anyway. Kind of a neat little thing. And here's a controller. As you can see, I'll take it out of the box here. As you can see by comparison, it's the exact same size. I'm curious as to whether or not they used the exact same mold, the original mold, to design the new one, or if they got their hands on an old one and messed around with it or something. I don't know, but it's the exact same size, which is pretty cool. It feels just like it did when I was a kid, except now my hands are a little bigger, so it doesn't feel as monstrous, which is kind of nice. But yeah, this thing, it got a lot of heat for being such a ginormous controller. The story behind it is really interesting. If you ever get a chance to check out, there's some documentaries and stuff all over the internet. But it's pretty neat. Obviously, there are a few things that they changed now that it's not back in start. It's menu button and all of that sort of thing. But they're the same size and they're in the same place. And a few neat things just for as someone like myself who loves the nostalgia factor of things like this. I love when they get the details right, and they absolutely got the details right on this one. As you can see, the button layout obviously is correct on the new one, same as the original, but I love how they even got the shape of the buttons and the colors right. They're oval shaped. They're not circles like on modern controllers that you're used to playing with. The black and white are obviously up in the top right corner, and the colors are for the most part the same. Yeah, I mean it's amazing how they got the details on that right, and then the size of the Xbox little button in the middle is the same size, which is cool. Even the joysticks and the D-pad are exactly the same, which is pretty neat. I feel like the joysticks have maybe a little bit nicer modern texture and rubberized grip to them, but you'll notice, and this is again the cool thing about details, I like this, you'll notice the what's the word, the indentation on the top of the right joystick is the exact same on the new one. And then this is something a lot of people didn't realize about the Duke. The left has a little bit different indentation, just like on the original. And so again, like the details, the D-pad, love it or hate it, it is the exact same D-pad, which is pretty cool. And also another neat thing, I'm like such a nerd about things like this. The original controller, the cord came out at the very bottom, and it had to do that because this is where you're putting the memory cards in. And so on the new Duke, they didn't have to put it there. They could have put it in the middle, which would have made a lot of sense, but they didn't. They kept it in the exact same location, which is really neat. Again, it's all about the details, and that's really cool that they did that. Now, obviously, as we're looking at it from this angle, you'll notice one big difference is they have bumpers on it. They've got an LB and an RB button. I guess they had to do that, but to be perfectly honest with you, even though I love nostalgia, I'm glad they're there. After playing with it for an hour, and you guys can check out the stream, I kind of talk about it as I'm playing through with it. It's really a nice feature having them there. I was a little nervous about it when I heard that they had to have it. It was a requirement because, I don't know, like having bumpers in this type of a controller, you would think they might get kind of, I don't know, in the way, or you'd hit them by accident, or they'd be kind of bulky. But that's not necessarily the case. And in fact, I found it to be extremely natural. Originally, when I would play with this one, when I was a kid, I would have my left and right fingers just like this, and I'd use my index finger to hit the triggers, as I'm sure many of you did, because there was no need for you to go up here, because there weren't any bumpers on the controller. And it is actually really unnatural to move up there like that and use your index finger to hit that if you're also using it to hit the main trigger. But during the stream, I caught myself doing this just kind of instinctively. I would end up playing like this, and it wraps around with my finger just perfectly to tap that, and then my middle finger, I'm using that to hit the main trigger down there. And there was even a period where I was trying as hard as I could to play the original way, and I kept catching myself switching to this mode. I mean, you could call it whatever you want as far as like being conditioned to play with bumpers after the 360 and now the Xbox One, and it's just kind of the standard. But the way that they made it work with the Duke works really well. And I was actually really surprised by that. I was not expecting the bumpers to work and function in a natural sort of way. And they actually do a lot. I actually kind of enjoy this configuration, and I might find myself using this particular controller a lot more than I originally anticipated using it because of that reason. So, and then obviously another modern feature they added, they've got a audio jack in here so you can plug your headset in. Originally that was something that you would end up having to plug in into the memory ports. You'd get a headphone or a headset, and it would plug in the back here in one of the memory ports, and then your memory card could go in the other port. They don't have that anymore. They just have this nice little grill, I guess, if you want to call it, and the headphone goes down there, and it works just fine, just like on your original Xbox One controllers do. Looking at comparison of the Xbox One's Duke controller to a modern Xbox One controller, this is the one that came with my Xbox One X. You can see the finish on the controllers. Looking at all three of them here is a little different. I feel like this one is on the new Duke is probably closer in finish and texture to the current Xbox One system controllers. This one's maybe a little more matted as you can tell, just kind of looking at them. It's a little smoother on the new one. And also, because the joysticks are the original joysticks, you can't use, if any of you guys use these, use FPS Freaks or any extensions, the original joysticks don't really work for that, especially on the right joystick, where it's kind of, you can tell it moves up and it's embeveled a little bit. It makes it kind of hard to stick these on there. The size of them don't work at all. I do have some Freaks for my 360 controllers, and they could fit around the edges okay, but they weren't really staying in place very well, and I didn't want to risk ruining the actual joysticks on this one. Yeah, Freaks don't really work on this, but I know that's not something a lot of people use or a lot of people are worried about. And it's definitely not a make or break thing for me. I use my Freaks a lot, but I use them on this controller, and I'm used to the button layout and the positioning of everything on this one, so I don't necessarily need to have them on this one. So let me plug it in, and I'll show you guys what it looks like when you do that. See the screen come to life. If we can, yeah, there we go. You'll see when we plug it in, did a little rumble, and there is the original Xbox load up screen. That's really cool. They didn't have to do that, but it is really neat that they have that there. Obviously, because it is just the video, there's no audio to go with it. It's not like this is a PlayStation 4 controller with built-in speaker. That'd have been cool, but it'd have been even more expensive, I'm sure, if they would have done something like that. But now that this button is an actual button, you can tap it as many times as you want, and when you do tap it, it does the animation all over again. And then this serves as your Xbox symbol button, just like on your Xbox One controllers. You tap that, and it brings up your little menu. It helps you navigate to parties and all the other apps and games that you have on there. That's what this is now. And so you tap that and it pops up. You tap it and it goes away. It's pretty sweet, and it's pretty fun, and it's neat that they have an animation to go along with it that is a nice little wink and a nod to the original Xbox system that this thing is based around. So yeah, so that's the Duke. I love it. I am super happy with it, and I just want to say thank you to Microsoft, and thank you to Hyperkin, and everybody on that list for making this. For someone like me who loves the original Xbox and loved this controller, I didn't have a whole lot of other options when I had my original Xbox, and so I just want to say thank you. It is absolutely perfect. Way more attention to detail than I expected, really high quality, and I will definitely be playing with this thing a lot. So if you guys have any questions or any thoughts, your thoughts on the original Xbox and playing games with this thing, I can already tell having the oval buttons and black and white buttons up in that location are going to be interesting, and getting used to playing modern games, because I'm so used to this button layout where they're a little bit more far apart. There's circles, the spacing on it and all of that it's just different. So there's a little bit of a learning curve and going back to it, but I'm okay with that. I'm really happy with it, And if you are a fan of the original Xbox and you're really enjoying, like me, all of these backwards compatible titles that are coming out, man, Xbox is knocking it out of the park in the nostalgia factor. And this is just one more way that they're doing that. So if you are like me and you're loving that, you should definitely pick up the new Duke. I have no doubt you will love it.